Frankfurt Allgemeine Zeitung in Germany, German intelligence had elaborated the attacks on the buildings. French intelligence, Israeli intelligence, the Mossad was in meetings with the National Security Council, 200 operatives, by the way, across the South. Focused 60 of them in Hollywood, Florida, where they were not just monitoring, but were in contact with the putative hijackers, namely Mohammed Atta, and Al-Ghamdi and Al-Shehi and Mohammed Atta, according to nightly newspapers, and the Washington Post and Newsweek were where? Working at Maxwell Air Force Base in Alabama, Brooks Air Force Base in Texas. They're contacted at Pensacola Naval Station in Florida, at the Defense Language Institute in Monterey. Overwhelmingly, every documentation that we can find in the mainstream media established the hands of intelligence in relation to these events. William Safire in the New York Times, reacting to the fact that Bush had done a disappearing act after the attack and then showed up in Shreveport, Louisiana, and then is found in Nebraska at a secure Air Force base, not in Washington. He wrote a piece, it's instructive, it's in the New York Times at the time, called Inside the Bunker. Safire, who's hardly in the forefront of revolution, was put off by the cover story or the explanation that had been given to him that the Secret Service had stated that they had a warning from the terrorists that they received on Air Force One. Quote, Air Force One is next. And here's what Safire wrote. The worrisome thing of this has to do with the credibility of the Air Force One is next message. How did they get the code word information? The transponder know-how? How did they establish their malafidis? Their knowledge of the code words, of the presidential whereabouts, of the possession of secret procedures. It indicates that these terrorists have a mole in the White House. They have informants and contacting rights of the Secret Service, the FBI, the FAA, and the CIA. What we need, he said, is an Anglican-type counter-spy to smoke out those in the central areas of authority who have the knowledge and the contacts and the communications to affect these events. The mainstream media. Do you remember that the former editor of Newsweek, the editor of the Washington Times, Arnold Borsgrave, conducted an extraordinary interview with General Gul Hamid. General Gul Hamid was the head of the Inter-Service Intelligence Agencies of Pakistan, the ISI. It was General Gul Hamid's desk to coordinate the terror apparatus of Gulbuddin Hekmatyar and Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan, for which $6 billion had been allocated by the Central Intelligence Agency. It was General Hamid's desk to create the conditions for the Taliban in Afghanistan on behalf of the United States authorities. This is what he said to Arnold Borsgrave in an exclusive interview with United Press International. It is clear there's a plot by the United States Air Force. The Twin Towers were first attacked at 8:45 a.m. 4 flights were diverted from their assigned airspace, yet Air Force jets did not scramble as standard procedure until 10 a.m. Oh yes, this is an undertaking of the Air Force. Radars are jammed, transponders fail, no IFF, friend or foe communication. This is an inside job. He said, you trained me. You guys trained me. He said, I know these operations. He said, who do you think this is? This is going to be hushed up in an investigation just like the Warren report after the Kennedy assassination, Gul Hamid states. He says, let's be clear. He said, the United States military and its accomplices in the Mossad, they have they are in need of hundreds of billions of dollars for their intelligence agencies. He said, you know, they say they were taken by surprise. Don't believe it. Within 10 minutes of the second Twin Tower being hit, CNN announced that Osama bin Laden had done it. I am in intelligence. This is a planned piece of disinformation by the real perpetrators designed to create an instant mindset to put public opinion in a trance to prevent even intelligent people from thinking for themselves. And Arnold de Boersgrave says, so you're convinced that bin Laden did not do it? He said, be serious. He can't break wind without your monitoring it. From a cave inside a mountain, from a peasant's hovel, coordinating intelligence services, military-like operations, stand-downs of your Air Force, attacks that require the ultimate sophistication of the military and intelligence services. He says, are you serious? The elaborate interview by Arnold de Boersgrave, I remind you, brothers and sisters, appeared in UPI, mainstream media. The hand of intelligence all over these operations has been enormously covered within mainstream media. The Houston Chronicle, when it conducted its report on the investigation of FinCEN, Financial Services Division associated with the FBI, of Bush father and son, addressed itself to the funding of the Bush companies, Harkin Energy and Arbusto, by an elaborate financial complex involving the father and brother of Osama bin Laden. This is the funding apparatus of the BCCI, the Bank of Credit and Commerce International, which was the laundering device for drug operations and for covert operations across the planet. And it is directly linked to the following. On the 10th of September, brothers and sisters, Dan Rather made an announcement on CBS that in the prior year, $2.4 trillion had been lost by the Pentagon. And the year antecedent to that, it was $1.2 trillion. And when Robert Lieberman, the accounting officer, testified before Congress, $7.2 trillion without a paper trail. How do you lose that kind of money? This is in offshore accounts and proprietary companies. It's the apparatus through which such operations unfold. It's the murder apparatus of the criminalization of the rulers at the top. Well established. The Wall Street Journal. It is shocking, they say, that the president and his father are entirely involved financially with the bin Ladens, with the financial apparatus of these illicit banks. This is not a mystery. This is not a conspiracy concealed. This is the evidence adumbrated and elaborated in our own established media that reveal and establish the criminalization of this ruling class.